Where's the La Croix? Go. Right. Is this thing on? It is. Sorry I'm late. Tilt that up a bit. That's better. Hey everybody, we're just sitting for a second and see if anyone else is going to join. Had some things I wanted to cover. Were kind of relevant to what, where we were kind of looking from the ER perspective today. You know, because our worry is that we're unprepared. We're not able to do our work, but every day we get the chance to kind of walk around and practice putting on our PPE, reminding people to put on their PPE, and doing simulations, we feel safer. And you're safer. And I think at this time to have something to believe in that is a heck of a lot more generous than, I don't know, believing in the stock market or something like that, is reassuring for people. And I shared an article today on Facebook that was about what was happening in New York at a particular hospital there, and it's serious. You know, they're feeling very overwhelmed, and a lot of us have friends there. It's not very far from Toronto or Montreal. So we are with them in some ways, and we're there for you. So I came from the ER just now and worked the day away in the COVID part of the ER. Like many, they're set up to try to capture as many people as possible, hold as many people as possible who potentially may be infected. Use evidence-based and sensible guidelines about who to swab, who to discharge, how to handle particularly sensitive populations of people. By that I mean the people who are alone, maybe unwell. And right now we are still in that prepared phase. We're feeling better every day. We are switched to a different type of schedule. For us as ER clinicians, we now are on a pandemic schedule, double covered all the time. So there's never anyone alone, even at night. So no slip-ups, no worries about forgetting to put your visor on when you step into a room of someone who's possibly sick with this illness. So, you know, we're glad for that. And we're really kind of trying not to get hopeful because we're like, but it seems to be working so far. This social distancing thing that y'all are doing seems to be working. There's some other countries where it's worked, in Japan and Korea. I don't know. I haven't followed the Korea situation very much, but someone sent me something about Japan today. So our hope is that we caught it. And if we did, that's because of you. And we're just all so moved by the showing of generosity from the public towards us. You know, because in some ways we always felt like we've been doing, that's not where we got our motivation from. You know, a lot of the time, especially in the ER, if you did your job in the exact kind of patient you trained your whole residency for, that person wouldn't even know your name because you would have done all the stuff. You would have put them out of pain, you would have intubated them or put in the chest tube, bound the pelvis up, sent them to the ICU or talked to the right surgeon, and they'd never think to send you a thank you card. So, but we didn't ask for one. We knew that when we went into the job. So we get the equivalent of the thank you cards now. And I felt this a bit with MSF because, you know, there's a visibility with MSF. I did the blogs and that kind of thing. So it got this sense of satisfaction from the work, but also from people saying that's it. Nice to know that you're doing that because we don't know how to do it, and we're feeling that, truly from you, from patients, from somebody sent me a message that Uber wants to give 30,000 meals to healthcare workers in U.S. and Canada. So what that means is your acts of support and your showing of kindness towards us makes us stronger, heals something in us. And so that type of feeling, it doesn't land on us, it passes through us. It passes through us to each other, and it passes through us to our patients. And it passes through us to all those other doctors and nurses who may need help. So when I was running home today, I thought, I wonder if I should reach out to my friends in New York. If this gets cool here, if this stays cool, reach out to my friends in New York and see if they can get some kind of temporary license for me so I can go and spell them off. Because I would love to do that. That's the type of world that seems like the one we get to lean into now. And I'm just psyched about that. I think I shared yesterday that what we're considering, the latest that I've heard, we're considering the end of this epidemic is 3 weeks of no new cases. So I'm secretly planning, okay, once that starts to come around, let's talk about all of the things that we valued about this time and what was important to us. Maybe how we didn't buy as much shit as we did before. Or we still needed stuff, because you still need things. But then we realized that, well, everything's closed, so maybe let's ask around. Actually, my friend had what I was looking for. I didn't even have to search that far. Maybe we don't need to throw all this shit away. Buy it and throw it away. So I think that's, I don't know, a secret hope that outstrips my role today, which is to kind of just tell you that things are status quo. Yes, and that's it. So the ER is calm, it's there for you, and I will update you more from it tomorrow after I finish work. All right. To the PPE, personal protective equipment. So much of this has been about minimizing, being attentive to what we're throwing away, actually. Being attentive to not throwing away PPE because we don't know how much we're going to need if this drags out for a very long time. We do know we need it to keep infections down in healthcare workers, because if you get infections in healthcare workers and support staff, so I mean that like the broad spectrum, doctors, nurses, medics, physiotherapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, but also porters and engineers and the people who make the food, who open the boxes of PPE. If we keep infections down in this population of people, then they'll continue to work. If it goes up, then the arithmetic of whether it's worth it or not starts to change. So PPE keeps people safe. We want to have enough of it to keep this kind of supply chain going, so we keep this human supply chain safe. So that's where this question has come up. Like, how do we have enough? Some places do, some places don't. Italy is running into snags, maybe New York the same. Right now, what I know is the hospital where I work at is accepting donations of PPE. Now, I think that they'd prefer it if it was like legit N95 masks and legit surgical gloves and gowns. It'd be cool. Because sometimes those like walk off sometimes. Or there's a surplus of them for, I don't know, someone caring for an elderly parent who passed away and they still have these masks and gloves and don't and never knew what to do with them, but felt that they were too valuable to get rid of. So those, I'll drop an email address in the comments if you have that kind of thing. There has been generous offers by people, two groups of people, just impassioned citizens thinking like, how else can I help? My idle hands are aching with wanting to be well used. Can we sew you masks? And there's other people who say, can we print 3D printing? Can we print visors? People have offered to and are sending me a visor, a face shield rather. So I think this, I'll just tell you what I know about PPE is the coronavirus I've heard is between, I've heard two different sizes, 0.1 microns. So 1 micron is 1,000 millimeter. So 1/10,000th of a millimeter. Yeah. 1/10,000th of a millimeter. 1.1 micron to somewhere around 5 microns. So very small. So those very, 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 very small pores. And viruses are very simple animals. They don't have a lot of things in them, so they're tinier than bacteria. So that's why they spread around in the atmosphere, because they can carry on very fine particles in dust, like dust. So the virus is very, very small. But the PPE really isn't to stop the virus necessarily, like at its most coarse. If you had an N95, it would. But just a regular surgical mask is the pores are bigger. But what the surgical mask can do is stop the droplets. This is the little viral piece is hanging on and floating around on something, right? If it's in the air, droplets. So like sneezing or coughing distance. That's what we say droplets. Aerosolized. Little mist comes out of you, and if it comes onto me and I like get it on my hand and then eat something, then if there's enough viruses on there, then it kind of causes a sickness in me. So the mask thing I'm just not sure about. So it would have to, here's what happens when you get tested if your mask fits. They put a mask on you, they put this hood over your, like a beekeeper's hood, and then they spray in water mist that has a scent to it, like peppermint or something. And then you say, can you smell it? Yeah, I can smell it. Okay, that mask's not for you. This one, can I smell it? Yeah, no, your face doesn't fit that one either. What about this one? Spray, 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 spray. Spray, spray. Nope, spray, 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 spray. No, okay, this one's for you. So you'd have to have something that had a integrity with a small enough pores that you were avoiding feeling that kind of, the particles are getting through. Or else it's not really that protective. That's my sense of it. So I'm sure there are a million groups and labs and innovation hubs that are working on this problem, and if you know of one, that would be cool. You can drop it in the comments. The other thing would be the gowns. So same thing. You gotta have, if you gotta feel impervious, you have to feel protected from this illness. So we have to continue to just feel like we're 100% because we actually want to touch people. We do. We have to. And we get to. And it makes them feel safe, and it gives us information. So we want to feel safe in that. So that's the comment on PPE. If you have any further ones, or I wasn't clear, you can drop something in the comments. I'll get to it. Okay, last thing is like the curves in Canada compared to elsewhere in the world. Just too much noise right now for us to know. So what we're keeping an eye on is this really sick population of people we've heard about, because we'll be able to approximate the number of infected people based on the data from other places who've been through the worst of it already. And right now we haven't seen that peak. We've seen some people, okay? We've seen some people who've been really sick and needed intensive care, but not to the numbers of Italy or China yet. Which means we don't have a great way of knowing how many infected people there are. We switched this swabbing criteria a little bit. We used to get just travelers. You remember, we've been through this before. And then we switched last week to people who were kind of sick and had risk factors and maybe had the disease, so they had the infection, I mean. So we kind of switched it up. Anytime you switch up populations and shift from one to another, the numbers are kind of muddy and it's not really meaningful. So now what's happening though, so you see the numbers in Canada dropped. So before we all like high five each other and look back to the NHL playoffs, the Oilers are just doing good for the first time since I was a kid. I think what's happening is the tests, because we just kind of went into a kind of a smaller subset of people, the ones who are really sick, who are quite sick, who need to come in the hospital. So the numbers are going to look like they're falling. So it's just too soon to say. How many people are out there? Are they all kind of getting sick now? I know I keep on saying like 10 days, 10 days, 7 days, 10 days, but that's probably by this time, not this weekend, but next weekend, if we keep these criteria pretty close to the same, then we'll be able to get a better sense of what's happening in our communities. But right now we just don't know. We know there are sick people. We know sometimes they come into hospital. A lot of the time they come into hospital. We need to care for them. And there are people at home who have the illness, who didn't get swabbed, who are just going to get better and going to be immune. All right, so no news is no news. I think that's it for now. I kind of just want to keep this brief today and maybe get into something a little more substantive tomorrow, maybe something around how to care for yourself. I had a friend of mine send me something about nutrition and optimizing this kind of at-home time, because we're really not getting a lot of the things that we use to keep us healthy. So the social aspect is a little bit diminished. The exercise for some people. Those of us who live in the city, we're in the city without any of the city stuff. So that's why we lived here. It was like the art and the music and the food. And now it's just like a bunch of people around you can't talk to. I think all of us have considered moving into the country for sure. But so tomorrow we'll do a little more self-care thing. But I just wanted to brief you with what happened today in the ER, and then let's just do a little meditation. Let's do a 20-minute thing and just kind of see if we can soften into our evening, wherever they happen to be. Likely wherever your home is. Okay, so wherever you are, if you need to sign off, sad to miss you. If you want to sit for a bit, then please join. So we'll just do 20 minutes this time, I think. It's getting kind of late and I'm tired. I am. Zoom calling late last night. All right, cool. So wherever you are, just get into a comfortable position. Not too comfortable. We've got some meditating to do. So what I mean by comfortable is just alert and relaxed. We're really just trying to create the conditions for how we want to face the rest of our day. Alert, meaning available, and relaxed, not tense. It's this kind of gentleness allows us to be flexible and responsive, like an immune system. In fact, my friend next door said, meditation is the only cure for the coronavirus. The only cure. And he's not as evidence-based as me, but, he's wiser, that's for sure. Okay. We'll start and end with a bell. You know, there's a big question of where did that bell go? Did it go into the same place it came from? It's that kind of curiosity, that deep question, the fundamental kind of bottom baseline questions like that, or who am I? What am I? What is this? It's a practice of self-inquiry, constantly repeating yourself a question like that and just really trying to clock the answer. But now is a time where we have so many of those, so many of those questions. Part of the skill of meditation is choosing something that is generous to your experience. So we're going to put those questions on hold for a time being, maybe only for the next 15 or so minutes, but we're going to just go somewhere a little more gentle. So wherever you are, seated or lying down, take a breath. Full breath, fill your chest. And the exhale, soften. The next in-breath, at the end of your inhale, with a full chest, just pause. Let go. If you like, you can sigh aloud. We're going to lean into or just stay with that kind of softening feeling that happens at the beginning of the exhalation. The release of tension. There's a falling away. It's like a surrender or release, especially when you have that kind of like intentional quality of kind of just like pausing at the end of the in-breath. And then that kind of like permission to relax. That falling away. Effortless. That's good. You can let go of the intention to pause or anything effortful with the breath, but kind of keep an inner eye on, inner feeling on the out breath. There's an ease with which it happens. An effortlessness of the letting go. There's a quality to it that you can kind of map onto our experience. We sometimes in these Shinzen meditation circles refer to as a flavor of equanimity. That you can carry to many aspects of your experience. And it's the opposite of the furtive kind of hanging on of circular thinking mind that wants to tangle. Just this kind of like permission to let things just be. If you were, my friend Jeff likes to use this metaphor, imagine being in a, like you're gonna step into a cold shower. Or the shower went from hot to cold. Instead of like tensing up, the opposite of that experience, just and how much that kind of frees you. So in these tempestuous and tricky times with which to find equanimity, we can get a flavor of it in our breath, the out breath. The visualization of just kind of like opening. Just an attitude, really. Your mind is spinning out of control, and instead of saying, like, puzzling and trying to come with an answer, or saying, no, don't do that right now, I want to sleep, you just say, okay, spin. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to push you away. I trust you. You're working for me. Thank you. If you want to get that kind of direction of that attitude, the out breath. You can practice and experiment with something that works for you. You can use that pause at the top to clock that moment of release. You can draw out the out breath. Exhale slowly, spend more time in that kind of sinking. You can adopt that more general attitude, just like that metaphor in the shower, just kind of let everything kind of soften. much can you let go of? Tension in your face, your hands, legs. The thoughts dancing. They don't disappear. That's not the point. They just touch very lightly. You'll get back to them. And that's good. For the last minute or two, we're going to send some silent wishes to people. I want you to choose someone in your life who's far away, who you haven't seen, who maybe you've been in touch with during this time, but really just want to squeeze. I want you to imagine that they were close enough to you for you to rest their head in the nape of your neck. And you can hug them and squeeze them. And that feeling that blooms in you as you imagine holding that person is the shit. That is it. That is it. That is it. That is why I show up to work. That is why we do all the things that we do. We want to pass that feeling around to as many people as possible. Because it's not something that lives in us, it's something that moves between us. And it's so much stronger than any coronavirus. It is what makes us so formidable. So that feeling, if it happened, that's great. If it didn't, that's cool too. It's still just as true. But if you feel it as if you could beam it from that friend or relative, living or past, out into the room, out into the world, to do its endless and incessant work of healing. Let it do its gifting to all those people who, like us, feel afraid, feel alone. Afraid? Okay. Alone? Never. So to them, to that person, the same kind of sincere wish. I hope you're safe. I hope you're happy. I hope you feel free. I need an editor. All right, that was cool. Thanks for sitting with me. Probably wouldn't have done it if you weren't here, so hey, cool. I'm starting meditation retreat next week, so I'm not sure what that means for this. I'll figure it out. It may turn into something different. I'm not sure how dark I can go because of the whole pandemic thing, but I'd love to continue this momentum somehow. All right, I'm going to go back to doing whatever it is that I do when I'm not at work. Thanks for sitting with me. I will see you guys tomorrow. I think 6 EST is probably safer. Okay, bye.